Hello everybody, my name is Kelsey and we're about to get very, very nerdy with all the books that I acquired in October. So October was the month of middle grade as far as acquiring books, because like 80% of this stack is middle grade books. Because my husband and I were preparing for Believeathon, we are both participating, so we grabbed a few books that we'd had our eyes on for a while and books that we were planning on reading for the Believeathon, and then my husband's school also did like their Scholastic book fair, and so at the end of the week we picked up a few books that we were interested in after all the kids had gone through and were able to pick what they wanted. We picked up some of the extra copies at the end. So I've got a lot of books to talk about today. So this month we're going to be doing things just a little bit differently. I usually show them in the order that I acquired them throughout the month, but this month I'm actually going to be splitting it up into two different groups. We're going to be doing the very small amount of books that are not middle grade first, and then we're going to be doing all of the middle grade books because there are so many that it just makes sense to do them all together instead of splitting them in half. But the first book that I'm going to talk about today is Roaring by Lindsay Duga. Now, I've talked about this quite a lot recently. This is an indie book that I was able to receive the NetGalley arc of a couple of months ago before it came out and read and absolutely loved. So of course I had to go out and get my own copy of it. I've raved about this so much, but basically this follows a couple of characters in the 1920s, but it's a different kind of 1920s where magical creatures exist. And so we follow our main character, whose name I cannot remember, and I feel like it's not even on the back. We follow this girl who is a siren, but does not know that she is a siren. We follow this man who is part of like the FBI version, but for math. Wow. But it also follows our main male character, who is part of a government program, kind of like the FBI, but for magical creatures, and he is after this siren because she is supposed to be super, super deadly, because she can make people do whatever they want. And they meet, and adventure ensues, and romance ensues, and it's just fabulous. I love the magic system in this world. I'll leave my review up above so you guys can go check that out. But this is great, and I just needed to get my own copy and my hands on it because I loved it so freaking much. I also pre-ordered my Christmas book because I'm sure you guys remember, but I like to read at least one book in December that is dedicated to Christmas. Most of the time they are romances. This time is no exception, and that is In a Hollandaise by Christina Lauren. This is basically a holiday version of Groundhog Day where our main character is reliving the same day over and over again. It's a rom-com. It's supposed to be crazy, and I love Christina Lauren. I love the books that they write. I do want to one day own and read every single book that they have ever written. So this is their newest one that came out this month, and I pre-ordered it because obviously I wanted to read it because I love them. And I'm not even kidding you, that's literally all I know. I don't really need to know anymore. It's romance by them. So this is a book that I'm sure you will see me reading in December, but I had to get my hands on it because I love them so much. And the last two books that are not middle grade are both part of the same series, and they're both mangas. I know. And that is My Brother's Husband, Volume 1 and 2 by I'm gonna pronounce this so wrong. Jingoro Tagami. I definitely thought these were significantly bigger than they are. Like, I got them and they were so small. So this is a manga series that takes place in Tokyo, where our main character and his daughter live, and his brother has died recently, and his brother's husband comes to kind of figure out and get to know the world that his husband grew up in. And our main character living in Tokyo is in a culture where, like, people who are gay, they're not okay with that. And it's just the two of them getting to know each other a little bit, and his daughter kind of basically being like the glue that holds them together. And it's only two, so I went ahead and got both volumes, but I am so excited because I've heard amazing things about this series, and it's a manga series that I have definitely wanted to get involved in, and I like, even though they're significantly smaller than I thought they were going to be, they're so freaking cute, and I'm really excited to get into this series. Alright, and now let's get into this very large middle grade stack. A lot of these are going to look familiar because I mentioned them in my TBR, but the first one that we picked up was Green Glass House by Kate Milford. This one is in my TBR for November. This basically takes place at an inn called Green Glass House, and it follows 12-year-old Milo, who is the innkeeper's son, and it's during the winter season where there's not a lot of guests, and then for some reason there's a lot of guests all of a sudden, and he's trying to figure out what's going on there, and it's kind of a mystery. And I know that Gavin from How to Train Your Gavin read this one, and apparently, because it's like, as you can see, like super snowy, it's very good for the winter time of year. So I'm excited because it's a mystery. I love this cover. It sounds incredible, and it's good for the end of the year. So we'll be reading this one, and I'm excited. The next one I picked up was George by Alex Gino. This is a very, very short, I think I would say early middle grade book. And it follows George, who, when everyone looks at George, they see a boy, but George knows that she's a girl. And it deals with transgender issues when you're a very, very young kid. And I'm really interested to see the younger take on this, because I've read a book on the older side of middle grade that has to do with transgender, or has a transgender main character, and I'm really curious to see how it's going to be handled in this book. It just sounds amazing. I'm ready for all the rep. So I'll be reading this one in November as well. So the next book that I ended up picking up was The Strangers by Margaret Patterson Haddix. This is an author that I am reading the Missing series from. My husband and I are reading it, and we are very much enjoying it. It follows 3 siblings, Chess, Emma, and Finn, and their mother, and they are living a super happy life, and then they learn about these 3 other siblings who have the same first names, middle names, and birthdays as these 3 kids, and they are reported as kidnapped. And so before the kids can ask their mother kind of what's going on there, the mother whisks them away on a work trip, and they are in this giant house, and they're puzzling and trying to figure out what's going on. It sounds amazing. I have loved the books that I have read so far in the Missing series by this author, and this one just sounds really, really good. It sounds very mysterious. This one just sounds amazing, and this cover looks awesome. It's giving me some very fall vibes. The next time I'm going to do together, because it's a series that we bought for my husband, and that, oh my god, they're so hard to hold up, and that is the Tyler Boone series by John Grisham. This is I don't even know what the series is about, to be honest, but it follows the kid, Tyler Boone, and Kid Lawyer is the first one, which is why I'm holding this one up, but it's supposed to be like a legal thriller for kids, and John Grisham is one of my husband's favorite authors. We have so many books by him. He's very well known for his legal thrillers, and so this is his kids series, so we decided to pick up the entire series because they came as a box set. So we have, in order, Kid Lawyer, The Abduction, The Accused, The Activist, The Fugitive, The Scandal, and The Accomplice. I'm not sure if there's any more beyond that. The Accomplice just came out, but we have this entire series because, like I said, my husband loves John Grisham a lot. So we picked up this series for him. The next book is one of the, I think, 4 that I have on this list that we picked up from Chris's school when they were doing the school scholastic book fair, and that is A Song for a Whale by Lynn Kelly. This one is one that I've had my eye on for so long, and when they had it there and there were leftover copies, I said, yes, please, please get that, because I've had my eye on it for so long. I don't even remember what this is about because it's been so long since I read the synopsis, but I just know it sounds amazing. This one follows our main character, Iris, who is like super, super techie, but she is deaf, so a lot of people in her school treat her like she's invisible and very, very stupid, and then she discovers and learns about this whale called Blue 55, which is a real whale, and he's unable to speak to other whales. And so she's like, oh my gosh, I understand how that feels. And so she decides to come up with a way for her to sing to this whale so he knows that she is not alone. It sounds like a grand adventure. I don't know if she's going to go find this whale or not, but it sounds fantastic, and I'm really interested to see the deaf rep within this book. I also do know that Lynn Kelly, the author, is a sign language interpreter, so it does come from someone who understands sign language. So I'm so interested in this book. It sounds amazing. I've had my eye on this book for years. and they had a copy, and I'm so excited to eventually dive into this one at some point. The next book that we ended up picking up was Other Words from For Home by Jasmine Warga. This basically follows our main character, Jude, who lives in Syria, but it's gotten very, very violent and very, very unsafe for her and her mother, so she leaves her brother and her father behind to move to America, to Cincinnati specifically, and she's learning all about America. And now that people, like, she's seen movies, and the movies that she has seen about America do not prepare her for what it actually is. It's very loud. It's very, very fast-paced. She has to deal with the new label that they have put on her of Middle Eastern, and then she does find some friends, and she does get interested in the school play, so it seems like it's going to be just an amazing adventure, but it's also written in verse, which I am very, very excited about, and apparently this is just a beautiful book. I know that the best friend Lauren, that you guys have seen here on the channel a few times, has read this book and absolutely adores it. So I am excited. This sounds amazing. It has her stamp of approval on it. It's written in verse. It's like everything is there for this book to be incredible. So the next book that I picked up was Love Like Sky by Leslie C. Youngblood. This basically follows our main character, G-Baby, and her younger sister, Peaches, and their new blended family. Their parents have gotten divorced, and she lives with her mother and her mother's new husband. I think his name is Frank. Yes, and their new step-sister, Tangi. And then their birth father, lives not around them, and they haven't seen him in quite a while. And so our main character is very, very interested in trying to get this stepsister to really like her, that she kind of forgets about her younger sister a little bit, and then her younger sister gets very, very sick. And so it sounds like it's going to be very, very hard-hitting and very, very interesting, because like up here at the very top it says families change, love grows. So everything about this sounds good. I'm not sure what I'm going to get into, but it does sound, I don't know, it sounds really, really great, and I'm excited to get into this book at some point. The next one and last one that we picked up at the Scholastic Book Fair was Tristan Strong Punches a Hole in the Sky by Kwame Mbala. This is a Rick Riordan Presents book. It's the first in a series. I really want to say the second one is out now, but this just sounds amazing. It really gives me the same vibes of like the Ari Shah series, which is also a Rick Riordan Presents, but this one deals with African folklore and mythology. And it just sounds incredible. And also this cover, you guys, you see all those pretty colors? Oh, stunning. So it follows Tristan Strong, and he is dealing with the aftermath of the loss of his best friend that died in a bus accident that he was also part of, and he has these journals that his friend has written, and so he's sent to Alabama with his grandparents, or at least his grandmother, no, both of his grandparents, and he's sent there to heal basically, and he's not looking forward to it. And one night this bizarre creature basically steals these journals from his best friend, and he is not okay with that, so he follows this creature thing to try to get them back, and in the tussle they are around this willow tree that has a bunch of bottles hanging from it that his grandmother has said, this is off limits, you can't go there, and somehow he ends up punching the tree, which punches a hole in the universe. It sounds incredible. It sounds like he's going to be on a grand adventure, and they're trying to basically seal up this hole that he has created. We bought this one because my husband thought this one sounded really interesting, and the more I think about it, the more this reminds me of Aru Shah, like I said, and it sounds incredible, and I'm excited to get into this at some point. And the very, very last book that I picked up in the month of October was one you've also already seen, because I'm definitely reading it in November, and that is The Vanishing Trick by Jenny Spangler. It's basically, it takes place in like a gothic Edwardian England type of period, but it follows our main character. I believe his name is pronounced Leander, and he's an orphan. He's just trying to like make his way, and he runs into this woman named Madame Pinchbeck, and she basically says, hey, I'll give you a job, I'll give you a place to live, I just need that locket that is your mother's. And so he agrees, and she ends up turning the locket into a giant cabinet and capturing him inside, and then basically like summoning him and putting him back in at will. And he's not the only one in there. So him and I believe there's 2 other kids who are now in there try to figure out how to break this curse and get out of this magical cabinet that's got them stuck in there. It sounds really, really cool. and I'm so excited. And again, this is one that Gavin has recommended. So I've had it on my list for quite a while, and so I just finally said, let's read this in November, so I picked up a copy so I could. Yay. Alright, so those are all the books that I bought in the month of October. I'm not holding all of them up because that was quite a lot. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you've read any of the books that I have mentioned in this video. I would love to know your thoughts on them before I get into them. But I hope that you very much enjoyed this video, and if you did, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe down below if you want to be part of this awesome growing family. I've also got all my social media down there as well if you want to follow along on any of those. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!